there. Back up with me if you don't mind.
So what happens here if someone shows up with a standard?
Okay. Oh, no, what I say standard.
No. We had this whole, the basket,
Yeah.
which is about 6 inches.
Wear
short.
this for the entirety of Shiva except for Shabbat.
Yes.
Yeah.
What happens a lot of times with cobblestone with the foundation? Yeah. So they tell us to use a 72-inch instead of an 81, for example.
Okay, and what happens if someone shows
The
up?
rabbi.
Well, they could repeat.
Okay, I was just curious.
Pardon? You know, the lower. Yes.
I was just curious because our funeral director knew this. And we had to, they scrambled through all the other funeral homes to find a 72-inch
Oh,
kosher coffin.
gotcha.
But if they didn't, or if we'd shown up completely unaware.
Worst case, worst.
What? Yeah, our aunt is here.
Does she have a ribbon to cut or something?
Do you have, Ellen, do you have a ribbon?
No, we don't.
Do you have a black ribbon to tear?
We don't have. What can we
Okay, you should get
substitute?
one.
Where am I gonna get one in my house?
They tell us the size.
Well, around the house, I don't think you can, but when you go out, you should have one for Shiva.
She has, if she wants to cut an article of clothing, she can do that.
Apparently, any sort of ribbon or such that you have, that you're willing to cut.
You
A
have
piece
a
of cloth.
yarmulke.
You have a black T-shirt. You want to put a cut
You
in?
have a yarmulke, Dad.
What?
You have a yarmulke?
I don't think you should cut a yarmulke.
No.
No.
Not a yarmulke.
Article of
It
clothing.
has to be an article of clothing or a ribbon.
Ribbon, like for wrapping presents. Can you even use one of your pair of socks that has holes? If you have
Pair of
ribbon for
socks work?
wrapping presents, that's exactly what this is, except in black.
Does a pair of socks work?
A pair of socks will work.
Yes,
fine.
a pair of socks will work.
I have right here.
So, something that she can spin on herself, her right hand side.
Any piece of cloth, a rag even, and
No, she's got a sock. When we cut it now?
In a moment, we're about to say the prayer.
Okay.
She see or hear me?
Yes, she can hear you and probably see you.
So just get a little bit closer so we can sort of join together like this a little bit. So. Ellen, my condolences. I'm Rabbi Larry. What we're going to do is we're going to be cutting the kriya, this ribbon or a piece of clothing that you have that you can pin to your right hand side. Just take a piece of any piece of material that you can cut, that you can take a little pin and just pin it on your right hand side. This is an outward appearance of mourning. By doing this, it's tearing away just a piece of something that's
You're gonna do it.
like tearing away that because of
Wait,
your mom
wait.
not being here anymore.
Scissors.
It's like that something has been torn away from us. But no matter what happens in this world, good, bad, or indifferent, we continue to have our faith in God. So by doing this prayer, we show that we continue to have our faith in God. So please repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Melech haolam.
Eloheinu melech haolam,
Dayan.
Dayan
Ha'emet.
ha'emet.
Praised are you,
Praised are you,
Lord our God,
Lord our God,
ruler of the universe,
ruler of the universe,
who
who is
the righteous judge.
the righteous judge.
Repeat these words as well. Adonai Natan,
Adonai Natan,
Adonai Lakach,
Adonai Lachach,
Yehi Shem,
Yehi Shem,
Adonai
Adonai
Mivorach.
Mivorach.
God has given,
God has given,
God has taken.
God has taken,
Praise be
praise be
the name of God.
the name of God.
Okay, cut it.
after the funeral, I suggest you go to, like, or to CVS or Target and get just some black ribbon like you wrap gifts with. And just take a piece, put a cut in it.
You're good.
And pin it to yourself.
Bailey, just go ahead and just rip that up yourself, just between the two, just tear it a little bit more. There.
Not seeing where the rip is.
Put it on your foot. Just put it on your foot. And you wear it. Get your ribbon later.
Okay. I was expecting, I usually see it on the page. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and we're back to seeing the side, yes.
Say new.
Howard, I know the name, but I can't picture offhand. But yes, he's definitely a camp person.
Do you know him or?
Probably. So he's my age. We got multiple Jodys.
Yes, we have.
That must be Brian.
That's fine. Or no, wait, no, I got this.
No friends.
Yeah, I got the book.
I know you're still friends. Yeah, but because.
I didn't know you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
Okay, schmoozing is done.
That the Jewish event schmoozing is never done.
You still don't know how to dress. Your mother should have told you to put on a warmer coat.
I put on a coat. That
I
was.
said a warmer coat.
Mom wasn't very good at that, and frankly, she's not talking much now.
She's
Actually, she was very good at always putting on, telling us to put on the warmest possible coat.
Absolutely.
Like the Parker and the.
No, I don't.
But yes, that was in
Got
front.
it. I agree. That's Brian.
No, Ethan still has, oh yes, Ethan's there. Welcome, Ethan.
Wait, hold on. Hello.
For everything, there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven. Time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. Time to tear down and a time to build. Time to weep. A time to laugh. Time to dance and a time to grieve. Time to throw and a time to gather. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. Time to keep and a time to discard. Time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. Psalm 23. Mizmor leDavid. Adonai roi lo efsar. Bihino teshe yarbitzeni. Al mei menucho. Al mei menucho. Yinahaleni. Nafshi yishoveh yishoveh. Yanecheni v'maglei tzedek. Yanecheni v'maglei tzedek. Leman shemo. Ga mekien be'eretz hamavet. Lo ira raki yatoi oti. Shir teva u'misharetecha. Hema yinachamuni. Taro lefanai, lefanai. Ulichan negeret sorerai. Dishaneto, to Hashem en roshi. Osi revaya. Areto. וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני אורך ימים. גמור לדורי. Psalm of David. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me to lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul. God guides me. God guides me in straight paths, for that is God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you, God, are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Eshet Chayo Miyimtza. A good woman, who can one find? Her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her family trusts in her. They shall lack nothing. She renders them good and not evil all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy, extends her hand to the poor. She is robed in strength and dignity, cheerfully faces whatever may come. Her mouth opens with wisdom, her tongue is guided by kindness. She tends to the affairs of her household. Her children, grandchildren, family come forward to bless her, give her praises. Many women have done superbly, but you, Roberta, surpassed them all. We are here today to lay Roberta Susan Harkavy to rest. Rivka bat Daniel Garut.
Sarah Weaver. She always said Sarah Weaver.
Eva.
Weaver. Sarah Weaver.
Sarah Reva.
No,
Yes.
Riva, they said Riva Sarah.
No, hold on. We have to fix it for the.
Yeah.
Was it Riva Sarah or Sarah Riva? Sarah.
Sarah Weaver.
Sarah Reva.
I remember that distinctly.
Susan first, huh?
We're here to remember her. I learned a little bit about her, but I'll reserve my comments because the comments that you have, the memories that you have, the stories that you have, really the ones that count. The ones that you'll not only tell today, but you'll tell into the future. So I'm going to open up to any of you who would like to say a few words. Again, be mindful of the traffic, be mindful of the wind. So speak loudly for anyone who wants to share their memories.
And I think that one, she was late to her own funeral, and two, that she got someone to give her a ride. Those of you who don't know, she never lived 5. And she didn't have to ask for the vote because she would never do that. In fact, over the last year and a half in the nursing home, to try and explain to the staff that if she's saying just anything, that might be a call for you to come over and ask her what does she need, because she's not going to ask for anything. Whenever she wanted to ride somewhere, she'd just say that she's not sure how she's going to get to cousin so-and-so's bar mitzvah, cousin so-and-so's wedding. And I got to the point where I said, Mom, I need you to ask me. I will say yes, but I need it. I need you to ask. And she would not ask.
See where I get it from?
So the classic Jewish mother. How many Jewish mothers does it take to change a light bulb?
None.
Don't bother. I'll sit here in the dark. If I trip over something and break my neck, it's the okay. It's not his fault. So, but in many ways, she was really a pioneer. And the commercial that's out there, the turning into your parents, the things that drove me crazy when I was a kid, I find myself doing for the same reason, but now it's more commonplace because it's environmental things. Like, not
Don't use the paper plates.
don't use the paper plates. Yeah, all the things that drive you guys crazy. So, but also in terms of egalitarian worship, I mean, she really pushed hard to be the first woman in the choir, the first woman to read Haftorah. Growing up, no woman wore kippot. She did. Now, as it became commonplace for women to wear kippot, it drove me crazy that she wore the shiny bar mitzvah kippot or the ugly black kippot as opposed to getting a nice kippot. But she was one of the first. Really, and it meant a ton to her that she did that, and she would not wear the doily thingy or anything else that the other women wore. It was a kippah. It was being completely egalitarian. I don't know whether she had the first adult bat mitzvah, but she had one of the first.
She had the first adult bat mitzvah.
So she had the
First adult female bat mitzvah.
Well, that
That would be bat mitzvah, yes.
So
Okay, I didn't misremember that. Okay.
yeah, I remember it was one of the first. I didn't remember if it was the first or if she did it with a group.
It was the first. And she did it by herself.
So, really very powerful, very much ahead of her times. But it's things that I didn't recognize when I was their age. In fact, it drove me crazy, but now I'm going,
All of us.
So, she had her quirks.
Well, that's when I really knew you, when we were their age.
The big envelope with a little square piece of a picture in it.
Oh, yes.
And the collection of odd stamps that you would put on the envelope. I was one of
the ones
that got
through unmarked.
I was the one who cleared out the house when they went into assisted living. I have that envelope of 1 cent, 2 cent, 26 cent, 43 cent stamps. We haven't bought stamps, so we haven't bought stamps in years. So,
Well, now at least they're the forever stamps. But
yeah, but she didn't.
she didn't have those. Yeah.
She didn't need them.
She didn't need them. She still had the pennies. Or
When the postage went up for the square letters and their stationery was squares.
4 cents, 2 cents. I was just
Have them from her.
stamps later.
So,
it covers the address.
the picture that I posted for her obituary is just classic her with a little Instamatic camera. I mean, she had so many of those little Instamatic cameras. Refused to get a good camera.
We tried once.
We tried a couple of times. And wearing a big kippah.
Yes.
So, and that's her. That's her in a nutshell. But the number of people have said to me in the last couple of days how they always appreciated getting all the birthday cards, all the anniversary cards. And up to a point I appreciated it, except that,
Yes.
when you got it and it was all signed with everyone's name,
Including your own.
mine were too.
Yes.
So
That was Mom.
that was Mom. So yeah, that's it really meant a lot to everyone. I think I tried to explain to her it would mean a whole lot more to me if my name wasn't on it.
You haven't signed your own.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was meaningful that she made a point of remembering everyone's
She
birthday.
had a book that
Yes.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
that book was falling apart forever, but
it's a ledger of the family.
yes.
I think I have it somewhere in one of the boxes. I-
Copy it up and send it.
Actually, something that you might appreciate, somewhere in one of the boxes in my basement. At 1962 or 1963,
That was
my
me.
parents were head of the Cousins Club,
Right.
and we have the scrapbook for that year.
Oh, that'd be great. I was
So-
3.
So somewhere in the early 60s.
That'd be great.
But we have all it's in a whole pile of
It'd be
things
great
to be
have an
digitized.
archive.
Yeah, so we're that. I had a deal to have things digitized, and that fell through. So I've been working on it, doing something else. Anyway, so yeah, that she was always wanted to be active, and up until COVID at the assisted living place, I mean, she went to every event. When she was in at the Hebrew home in Greater Washington 6 years ago now for rehab, I mean, she drove them crazy trying to find more events to go to. Unfortunately, and she came out of that rehab healthier than when she went in and walking better than when she went in. Unfortunately, COVID did her in because the isolation of being in the assisted living without the events just wore her down, and then she almost broke her hip, and we brought her down to the Hebrew home for rehab, but they'd shut down. They'd scaled back their rehab, and she had an undiagnosed infection that got in the way of doing what rehab they had left. So it wasn't as successful as the first time, and we had no choice but to let her finish out the year in the Hebrew home. We really wanted to get her in assisted living so she could have more activities, but it wasn't to be. And I think in some ways it's better that she was not really happy, even though she went to every activity they had, including church.
Yes, she was a regular at the church.
Yeah, me and Reverend Skip had a few really detailed conversations. But yeah, she went to church because it was the only activity on Sunday, except bingo, and she hated bingo. I did get them to set up a movie hour after church, in the same room, and that she appreciated as well. But without the activities to keep her going and the fact she was in a wheelchair, she was not happy. Yeah. Oh yeah, they had music a few times a week, and I did show up a few times when she was doing that, and she really enjoyed it. She would be the one person who was singing while most of the other people just like there.
Oh, everything. And she knew the real names of all the stars.
Right up,
Yes.
right up.
And while anyone who knows her knows that she never used any technology invented after 1950,
That late?
luckily, technically, the microwave was invented in 48, even though it didn't come to the market until the 70s or the 80s. She appreciated, even though she had no understanding of it at all, that every week when I came to visit her, I would bring an iPad and I would Zoom everyone in. And,
Yes, we greatly appreciate
I
that.
think it was probably the first time that my mother and her sister talked in about 7, 8, 9 years because my mother didn't know how to work the phone. Okay, that I remember, that I'm aware of.
It was
So-
talk on
Okay.
the phone, stop. Yes, and we were dialing.
Oh, if you dialed her in, then yes, that happens.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to dial the phones. I didn't know that happened, and I do apologize. I apologize sincerely, but she would not have picked up the phone or picked up the phone if it rang because for the 5 year, yeah, for years before, she would never pick up the phone
No, she wouldn't pick up when I called either.
because she didn't know how to. And it was a flip phone where all she had to do was flip it, but she didn't.
Technology was not her friend.
Yes, no, but
I mean, even her bicycle was a 3-speed.
no, it wasn't. It was in 1 speed.
No, she eventually got a 3-speed. She only kept riding it on 1 speed, but she couldn't get a 1 speed, so she got a 3-speed.
So, but and having Ellen on there, having my brothers on there, and my sister-in-law's on there, and um, that was meaningful to her. It was meaningful to me as well. So I you know, but yeah, that was the closest she came to using any information technology. So, anyone else want to say anything?
Yes, I do. Brian, can you,
Yes.
I know you can handle the time.
Yes.
Elliot did take a lot of what I was going to say already, especially the pioneering, but there's the other side. Mom was quirky,
I liked your line about March.
but that's actually the line I was just about to mention.
Sorry.
It's okay. Some people march to the beat of their own drum. Mom marches the music of her own kazoo. And she really was a unique individual. I remember her checkbook.
Oh yeah.
You guys have to remember this. She would write her own numbers in on the checkbook. And they wouldn't match anything the bank had. So when it came back, she'd say, okay, this looks like the right amount. That looks, and we tried to help her balancing the checkbook. We tried to get her to use it. Just wasn't her way of doing things. Oh, at the bar mitzvah. That's actually the picture I use on the obituary. On the bar mitzvah, just like a lot of other times, if she didn't have somebody to dance with, she went off and danced by herself and did it joyfully. Everything she did, except when she was not getting something done that she wanted done, she did joyfully. And my picture has her with a plastic trombone. I believe I have a couple of you with them as well. But her dancing around and pretending to play the trombone. And to me, it was one of the highlights of the mitzvah, just seeing her like that. Oh. At one point, I actually did a stand-up routine about her tricks when I was playing with improv and stand-up. So, but she just, the way she did things was her own way, absolutely. I'll repeat that in a second so that the truck on. She did her things her own way, absolutely. Marty Evans is here. He corresponded with Marty and her mother years after I had ever seen him.
Decades.
Decades, yes.
I have all of the letters still. He wrote beautiful letters.
She did. She anybody she was ever in contact with, as Elliot mentioned already, she had the notebook with everybody's birthdays and anniversaries, and she would correspond with anybody we've ever spoken to. I was friends with Marty for what, 3-4 years?
Yep.
And it was decades that she was still writing. It's just, she was unique, and I loved her, and I will miss her. And I am very thankful to you for setting up the Zooms. And I'm very thankful we all went down to you for Thanksgiving, because it gave us a last chance to say goodbye to her. And with that, I will pass on to Stephen or anybody else who wishes to talk.
I would like to say something. Hey, Ellie, Daniel, I would like to say something
Anyway,
when it's proper. Hello?
I think I've got you as last I can.
Okay, should I say something? Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have two things to say. One will be cute and one will be sentimental. Cute. Rock burgers. Everybody remember rock burgers? That's when she would cut.
Yes, I do remember her.
Oh, her rock
burgers.
her
Yeah.
rock
Her
burgers,
rock
yes.
burgers.
Yes,
would
no
take
one will ever
frozen-
accuse her of being a chef.
Frozen chopped meat, cut it and burn it and serve it as rock burgers. And we ate them because we were
Yes.
hungry.
We couldn't disappoint her. Although
No,
I was known in my youth to stick things under the radiator.
The other thing is, Ellen and I
Until we
wouldn't be
got
together
ants, and then I
today.
stopped doing it.
Hello. Ellen and I wouldn't be together today if it wasn't for both Ira and Roberta opening their house to Ellen so that she and I could court each other while I was going to school and working. And they were very, very open to us. They gave us the house and lots of privacy. And in their own way, they were very modern and thoughtful of Ellen and I developing our relationship, and extremely supportive, because Ellen lived there, I would say, 70–80% of the time when we were dating. It was just, they made life convenient for both of us, and we both deeply appreciated that.
Stuart, that was called Elliot's room after.
What was that?
That was called Elliot's room after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, actually,
right
Stephen, it
about
was
the time I got married.
Stephen, it was the basement couch.
You got a couch in the basement?
Yeah, at one point we.
Yes. We had
Nobody
a
told me.
couch in the basement.
Yeah, I remember, Stu, I remember when you guys were living there. I was a little pest, I think.
I must have been a baby,
Well, you,
because
yeah,
I
you were a
knew you
little boy
did, but
when-
I didn't
you were a
remember
little
any
boy
of it.
when Ellen and I met, so.
Yeah.
I even remember going to Martin's to bother you at work, so.
Right, that's where I used to work, absolutely. And I remember
Yep.
teaching Daniel how to swim.
Yeah.
I remember teaching Daniel in the country how to swim. And I
It
can't
stuck with me. I taught swimming for a long time.
swim. Anyhow, that's what I had to say.
Thanks, Stu.
Thank you, Stuart.
Jody
wanted to speak.
Yeah. Okay, Jody?
I was just going to say, we all said a lot of things about Roberta. Roberta and I had our own special relationship, because we got to know each other very well. And I was there from almost the beginning. I was 18 when I met the family. And I just have to say, I remember when she used to freeze the birthday cakes and drag them. Buy them just to make sure she bought one. She'd buy it like 2 weeks early and then freeze it.
Right.
I think it was 2 weeks. I can't be 100%, but
3 months.
whatever.
And she'd put it back in if we didn't eat enough of it. So,
Right, yes,
yes.
that I've learned that over time about them. And as my friends always would talk about, the one thing that no one's mentioned is her red suit. That if we didn't do what we did, we would have to dig up one of the red suits and bury her in it. Because the one thing that I think anybody who weren't close to Roberta knew about her was she would wear those red suits everywhere. Yes,
Except
Yes.
for our wedding.
except for our wedding.
Our
'cause I
wedding was blue.
blackmailed her and told her she couldn't come to my wedding if she wore the red suit.
And I'm pretty sure she wore the same blue suit for my wedding.
And I bought her a beautiful dress. And it turned out to be that she wore it to many other people's wedding after, but I refused. I was at the line. Roberta and Ira, I always said, I know your children did whatever you wanted. I'm different. So get used to it. So that was, but she and I had a very close relationship. And, over time, we've spent a lot of time together. But I just had to say that because if I didn't, I'm sure everybody else would be going, what about the red suit?
That was.
I'm
I don't
sorry
have
if I
I
stole
don't
your
have to
red
say
suit.
anything anymore.
Okay. So now I will turn it over to my husband unless
Does
somebody.
anybody else want to speak?
I was say, oh,
Who's first?
it doesn't matter.
Well, Marty came all the way.
Let Marty go first.
Well, I just want
That
to
sounds
say,
okay.
Roberta and I also, I've known her for over 50 years, and we had a close relationship, even though it was mostly through letters. But one thing I found to be so ironic, and forgive me, I had oral surgery this morning, so if I'm not speaking clearly, it's because of that.
Oh, you sound normal.
I'm impressed that you came here.
Roberta, of course. It was kind of ironic because Roberta, as all of you may know, happened to suffer from something called Raynaud's syndrome, which is a condition where the blood vessels, smaller ones, constrict excessively to the cold, so it reduces the ability to really tolerate cold.
She would have been wearing a parka then.
Right. For someone who was so resistant, so difficult, had such a difficult time with the cold, she had such a warm heart. And I
Yes.
always find that to be so ironic with the Roberta. So I just want to say I'm going to miss her terribly, and I will always reread her letters because she talks about her hobbies, her gardening, and my mother also has a collection of stamps that were somehow missed when they canceled it. Yeah, she always reused them, and she right next to Roberta's letters is all those stamps that can be reused and all those stickers, for different occasions. And I feel my mother and Roberta was so much alike in so many ways, and shared a lot of the same passions. So she was kind of like a second mother to me too. So that's why I'm here to honor her memory and to say I'm so happy that I've had the privilege of knowing her and knowing the whole Harkavy family for all these years.
Marty remembers that red sweater she used to wear when she was being camp mother.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
90-degree weather that she had that red.
Yes.
When I first met Mark, decided to fit in Camp Set. And I was in the same bunk as Steve. And at lunchtime, this little woman came in with a milkshake. She went, "Where's Mark?" Because I was really skinny. I was soaking wet. I was 75 pounds at that time. I was 11. And she was the camp mother. And she came in a little red sweater with the keys hanging around her neck. Right? She's always on the lanyard with the keys. "Mark, where's Mark?" And everybody hated me because I was getting a milkshake after lunch. No one else was getting a milkshake. It was rest hour. There'll be no eating. There'll be no nothing. And I got a milkshake.
What was sad?
Well, listen, I don't know. I got
we were in the same bunk, and
same bunk. He didn't get a milkshake.
I didn't get a milkshake. He did.
Well, you're a little more optic than I was. What can I tell you? So, and then as I got older, I stopped going to Sedgwick, I guess, Carmel. So I was like 11, 12, maybe bar mitzvah age, and I went to Camp Neshofa. But
We still
Then-
ran into each other.
then I would, yes, because I would still see him at functions every once in a while. But I would see Roberta at all of the gatherings,
Yes.
the cousins clubs. And she would come up and hide, always had the sweater and always had the keys, always the same. How was I? And I would get a birthday card with a picture of something of which I was the only picture and everything else was gone. And so there was never any context or reference to me and the card.
And remember, Dad was a judge, so all of these judges and politicians are getting little shots of their head with nothing else.
Right. So all of the, I don't know, but I mean, I'm a saver, to say the least. And I'm sure that I must have at least a couple of these pictures stuffed somewhere, like with all the other cards that I've gotten. But never did I ever get a correspondence from her that didn't have a picture of me with no reference. So it's just, it's that makes her who she was. She was just unique. Like you said, with the Instamatic, never nothing but it had the cube on top.
Oh, yeah.
Got 4 pictures, she threw the cube away, another cube. But listen, that's what made her unique and wonderful. So
Yes.
she'll be missed.
I'll go around this way, sir.
People said a lot of things that I know about Roberta, but when you would ask her to do something, she usually said, "Fine, whatever." But if it was something that she was interested in, no one could talk her out. She put her foot down, and this little woman had to have her way.
Yes, and had to do it without asking.
I just remember very fondly, she would have for every birthday, she would have for the kids, she would have this bag of toys. And you would have to put your hand in and pick them out. And there was always the bus and all the blocks. I remember that when my son would come over, she would get out her bag and that would be wonderful. So, Jessica.
So I'll be quick, but I came to the family the latest, I think, of the bunch because, we started a lot later. So I don't have many of the memories of Roberta younger and sort of more active with everything. But the years that I do have memories of Roberta, we spent a lot of time together talking, and I spent time helping her. So I was the one that would go every day with her in rehab and sitting with her because she was down by us for rehab.
So she told you our secrets?
All of it. We often spent a lot of time talking politics, and she liked to talk politics, and we've had a lot of fascinating discussions about all kinds of things. And she dealt a lot with anxiety, and so a lot of times we had a way of working things out between us, and we found sort of a nice way to kind of get her to a place where she could be a little bit calmer to deal with what she had to go through when she was dealing with rehab and facing things, or in the hospital when she was getting upset by things that she didn't like to do, or if she had to eat and she was unhappy about her foods, or she had to make decisions that she was getting stressed out by it. The two of us kind of found a nice way to work together and to get to a place where she could handle being in a place where she didn't want to be, and kind of get to the next step. And she stayed with us for a while when Ira had his fall. She was with us for a couple of weeks when that happened. And it was really nice to have her in our home at that point in time, and to and to have her interact with the kids, because they really didn't come down to stay with us. At that point, it was too hard for them to come down and stay with us. That was the first time we'd ever really had her in our home, and seeing her read stories to the kids and interact them, it was nice. But she had everyone's like these funny little quirks, but sometimes she just said the most outrageous things. And this last year, she was challenging like the clothing and other things. And one of the things that she kept saying was she liked to be warm and the raincoat and everything, but she would complain sometimes about how they dressed her. And one of the things she kept screaming about all the time was that she was naked under her clothes. And we couldn't quite figure out how to solve this problem. So
Love to say she was naked.
right. And so she would be very upset that she was naked under her clothes. And we couldn't quite figure out what it meant. So I mean, one day I went out and I had to buy her, all new underclothing because maybe that was the problem. And I remember spending weeks trying to figure out how to solve the naked underclothes problem for her. So it's been kind of an ongoing thing.
I think she probably wanted 3 or 4 more layers.
It was probably that, but sometimes we bought additional layers, we bought different clothing, we bought different underwear and bras because she was very upset that she was naked under her clothing.
That face gonna live with our family.
It does all the time. So we were always constantly trying to figure out, like she would say these things, we were trying to figure out what she meant by them so we could solve her problems, but she had this outrageous way of sort of phrasing what it was that was upsetting her. And it usually was just, she was cold or she was frustrated by something, but she'd come out with these statements that made us laugh, but she didn't want to laugh at what was going on with her because there was something real that was causing her stress and upset. But the number of times we would run to Target and buy out the entire store thing, maybe it's these pants, maybe it's this, and touched her and try it all out just to try and figure out how to make it better.
Anyone else?
So since I'm the musician in the family, I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't sing at her funeral. I just upset. So I had to find a Hebrew song. And the one that I found, I actually had my students sing last year for our holiday concert because it's actually a Rosh Hashanah song about beauty in the next year. And I think it would be very fitting for her funeral. So, Bashana.
Nesheva mirpaset v'nisbor tzipori nodedo ילדים בחושה נשחקתי תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות אותי כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה
Really want to know a challenge? Try teaching a bunch of goyim children how to.
That does remind me when she would sing when they would sing Hatikva at the end of service, she would stand up afterwards and sing the Star Spangled Banner because
it was her.
It was her.
Anyone else? Rich?
Are we gonna break out into Ufaratsta? I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, I could start about like the woman of valor. She loved being Jewish. I mean, it is a really difficult time being Jewish, and like this symbolism I saw, and my whole family's buried here. I asked in the main office, they said, this is the only funeral today. That's pretty symbolic. The only funeral today, Roberta. I mean, I've known Roberta since the age of 2. We moved in across the street. Roberta was like a second mother. Like we have little bicycles. Now I live in the Upper East Side. People, you can get run over by an Uber Eats delivery or anyone on a bike. We used to go up and down the block, and that was it. And the parents would look out for each other. I mean, I'm talking both Harkavy's. They're like family to us. I mean, it's funny you talked about the birthday cards. August 9th is my birthday. Like mid-July, I get a birthday card from her. I'm like, something came in the mail. My dad would say, "Is it a birthday card from Roberta?" Yeah, I'm gonna have. But she was social media. She was Facebook before Facebook.
Yes.
You guys should have the billions of Mark Zuckerberg. But you have the heart, soul, the neshama of Harkavy's. Just everything. Just beautiful. Roberta, I mean, she's the camp mother. She's intertwined in my life. I was in my 20s, my 30s, and I would see what Roberta's still like on the block, and I would stop and we'd have long conversations. It's just, she was one of a kind, and she would collect. You said egalitarian, that word, Elliot. She would collect. And like my father was the 70s, you wouldn't open the door for anyone. My father was like, paranoid. Who was that at the door? It was like Pastor, and Roberta was collecting for all kind of charities, right?
Different charity every time.
I mean, for like non-Jewish charities. That's Roberta. Like, and my father would go like, if it wasn't Roberta, he'd say, "Tell him we gave." Like, what does that mean? It's a little kid. But Roberta come in, okay? It's like, ah, she's a wonderful person. I love Roberta Harkavy, like a mother, second mother. I love you guys like family.
You are family.
You are family.
You are family. You've always been family.
We spent as much time at your house as
I've
our
always
house.
said your mother was my second mother, and my grandmother overruled everybody.
Yes.
True. I mean,
When we were in the 60s and 70s, 'cause my grandmother used to take over both families, and
I'll end with this. I'm not trying to be funny, but it's very funny.
It's
Telegram.
part of who you are these days.
It's a Hanukkah. It was probably a Hanukkah party, and we'd go back and forth Passover, Hanukkah, and like it's hard. You can be verschimmeled if you have three, especially rambunctious boys back to back to back. Like I could imagine. And Roberta was freezing. She was bundling everyone up. My mother loves to tell this story.
I know the story.
My mother loves to tell the story. And she's bundling like Steve in, and like they're going out, and we're going out somewhere, and Daniel and Elliot, but she bundled me instead. She's got like two boys and me.
Your mother
And,
told
like,
me the
you
opposite
look-
story.
She did? How did
Your
that?
mother told me the story that your mother yesterday told me the story that you two were together, Daniel and yourselves, and my mother took an outfit and she was bundling Daniel, and unfortunately it was your winter coats and your winter sweaters. Your mother was laughing the whole time telling me that yesterday.
Yes. Anyone else, or are we up to Steve? Here you go, Steve. You're the capstone.
First of all, I want to thank everybody.
Yes.
I thought it was just going to be our family, and that was it. So I thank my cousin Stu and Dana. I thank my cousin Mark. Grew up with him, and I thank Marty. I thank you, Richard. You know your family. I just Marty, you are because I know you've been corresponding, and your mother was corresponding when they met each other 50 years ago. So, Steve and Bobby, with my friends and family, and I'm really glad to be blessed. So, what am I going to talk about my mother that nobody else is doing? There's not much to say, except I noticed my wife, basically red jacket. We got here fashionably early, which is not used to me and my family. Yeah, but we made sure because it was mom and we wanted to. She is most independent and not independent in the same breath.
Yes.
Independent in, you heard first, she forced the synagogue to let her get bar mitzvahed. She made sure she was in the choir. She loved the synagogue. She's the one who never went to synagogue when she was a child, but when she got married, it was her who, you want to be a member of the synagogue, Ira? We're going every time. And to the point where my father, who's the real religious one, ended up being the non-religious one.
He eventually quit the synagogue. Mom still kept going.
Mom kept on.
We got into an argument. And another one.
Sorry.
Gee, I don't know where we get that from.
But she was always independent in her own way, as she danced at every time we went to a reception, she was dancing by herself. I guess that song was written for her. I'm dancing by myself, you know. I forgot who wrote that song. She was a great mother in her own little way. When Gladys was telling me stories, with your mom yesterday, because we always saw one side of my mother. The fact that she always wanted to run out to work. She was a teacher for 40 years, helping teach English to Spanish speaking children. I learned more about her being outgoing from both Bob Barron, who passed away this year at the age of 91, and from Richie, your mom, who passed, telling me stories. She was very, very outgoing, which we didn't get to see. I probably got to see it for 6 months when I was a baby, because when her father passed away, she changed. She never got over the fact that her father passed away. And it affected her, it hurt her. And then she had 2 other children, and she wanted to go back to work, Daniel and Elliot, and she wanted to go back to work. And my grandmother was dead against her going back to work. So to teach my mother a lesson, she basically took over the household. And my mother, you could see the change in my mother from when she was taking care of us as children and my grandmother taking over. Not that we did bad with my grandmother. My grandmother really did care for the entire family, the entire neighborhood, the entire other side of the family. She did a lot for everybody.
She was a force of nature too.
She used to do that while traveling to the Bronx every day because her son was in the hospital with cerebral palsy for many years. So my mom, yes, we always made fun of those red sweaters. Yes, we always made fun of those, the pictures. We all got those cutout pictures. But that was Mom. She would stay up to 4 o'clock in the morning doing that, making sure everybody got their birthday card. Everybody got their anniversary card. She'd be
asleep at the table most of the time.
This is the way she felt she was giving when it came time to having children. She always came with a coloring book or something, something small, but something that she could teach children and play with the children when they were younger. It may have been back when your time, but when my kids were growing up, when she was able to walk around, she was doing it. One of the things I remember my mother, unfortunately, I'm going to bring up a sad event when Stephanie passed away. Except for our immediate family, I think she took it the hardest. Because she said, no way should a granddaughter ever succeed a mother. I know, as I wrote in my Facebook thing, to the age of 76, she used to ride a bicycle. She used to ride up and down like you did, Richie, like we did. Mm-hmm. She used to ride that bicycle. That was her means of transportation. Unless you offered her transportation, she would take that bicycle. This is where she wasn't independent. She never advocated for herself. She never stood up, but she basically, you knew when she wanted something. And she let you know that she wanted something. And you were going to do it no matter what. That includes taking you someplace. Mom, I don't have any change. Do you have anything for tolls? No, I don't carry money. Money was nothing to her. She didn't even know what a dollar bill was.
She didn't even know how much money she
that's absolutely true, by the way.
Yes.
Because I did a checkbook for many years.
Yeah. At one point, we needed like a 5-day loan to get a car. And she didn't know she had enough money for the $10,000. And she had a lot more than that. That's where she wasn't independent. She needed us to advocate for her. I did that for 12 years when she was in the Stein facility. They knew her. They knew that she didn't advocate for herself, but they also knew that when we were there, we made sure that she got everything that she needed. And that's when the one time she stood up every Sunday when she didn't get her paper, that's when she stood up for herself. Otherwise, she relied on us and the rest of the family to stand up for her. So Mom, at the age of 76, as I was saying before, was riding a bicycle. And when my father fell down the stairs after he retired and just took a flop down the stairs, never was able to walk again, she also gave up her bicycle because they decided both to go into assisted living. So the way I'm thinking of it now,
Mom, we love you. We care for you. But she's also going to be taking her bicycle to the stairway of heaven. In that stairway to heaven, she's going to see Judge Ira, her husband for 58 years. Judge Ira's not going to be the first one who sees her. Because Stephanie's going to run right in front of him and give her the biggest hug that she could give. Because they were two of a kind together. They were always together. And they did a lot of things together. And with that, I thank everybody for coming. Thank you.
Steve?
Steve?
Do you mind if I say one more thing? And I just want to say, I was really glad that we had technology because we were all able to be there when she went. It was kind of sudden, but we were all able to be with her at the end of the hospital. We had Ellen, we had Ethan, we had, Daniel and Jody and Stephen and Jody. Elliot and I were there in person. Melissa was able to get on, and Brian, you were there also. So I mean, we were all able to be with her and surrounded her and telling her that we loved her and saying goodbye. So she wasn't alone when she died. And so that was really, I think, important for all of us. We were able to be with her at the end.
I don't think I told her that I inherited the bicycle gene, but I try to
He rides his bicycle
Everywhere.
Yeah.
unless we're going with him. He always takes his bicycle.
He used to take you with him on the bicycle.
Yeah.
All the way in.
Does anybody on the Zoom want to say anything? Before we continue, does anybody on the Zoom want to say anything? Melissa? No,
I don't
okay.
really have.
Oh, yes, okay. Hi.
I can't really talk much.
Understandable.
So I loved my grandmother a lot, and I appreciate that I will always have my love of reading to connect with her. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to bring this a little summation. I just want to thank everyone for teaching me about this wonderful woman's life. This true Yiddish neshama. I love the Yiddish that you used. This woman of 88 years old, April 4, 1935. I can't add anything more. Steve shared so much with me yesterday, but it really covered everything, Stephen. Everything. You told me, I think the only one thing you left out was her beautiful smile. But you talked about, the birthdays and things like that, but you missed the part about the photographs where she cut out the people's faces and heads and then make sure they all got their photographs. But I think most of all, what I'm seeing here, the friends that are here and the family that are all together today, is I'm thinking about the Torah portions that we've been reading this week. We've been reading about Yaakov and Esav and our patriarchs and our matriarchs, and really to bring it to a head here where Joseph goes down to Egypt, and to talk about all the tribes and the entire family. And the list of names that occurred in this past week's portion, we talk about Esau's family. And now we're going to go into Israel's family, Yaakov's family. So when even today, Steve was texting me to make sure I got all the names. I want to say all of your names, because that's what a legacy is about. That's what a person leaves behind, a person who went to college, a person who earned their master's in education. That's the legacy that's within all of you. To teach, to continue to celebrate her life. From the time she's now returned back with her husband Ira, to having Stephen and Daniel and Elliot and your spouses, Jody, Y. Jessica, her sister, her only sister, Ellen, and Stuart, her grandchildren, Melissa, Brian, Ethan, Micah, and Maya, and who can forget Stephanie? Who can forget? Stephanie is greeting her at the gates of heaven right now. nephews and nieces, grandnephews and nieces, Dana and Stu, Howard and Jenny, Allie, Michaela, Evan, Brad, and Abby. Family, friends. This is what it's all about. It's ensuring that the generations, the future generations, know her story, know who she was, and take it into you, take it with you, and pass her love, pass her goodness down from generation to generation. The one thing that I know that you can't pass down is the wonderful cook that she was.
We're working on avoiding.
I learned how to cook.
So did I. I learned how to cook and do laundry.
So we do have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to lay our loved ones to rest. Take our time, everybody will have an opportunity to do this. This is known as a chesed shel emet, an act of kindness that the person that we're doing this for cannot repay, but we do it for them because we know that one day, a long days away, that somebody will hopefully do it for us. Placing a blanket of earth in this final resting place. So I know that we have some soil from Israel. Somewhere, we'll get that in a minute. I lost. We'll get that in a minute. But let me just say to all of us that when you do this, we know that we have to do this. It's our responsibility. But we have to make sure that we're not rushing exactly to do this. So we do something, a couple things very unique. The first thing is that when I take the first shovel, take it upside down. Place the blanket of earth, the soil on top of the casket, say on words right now. Adonai, God has given, God has taken. Praise be the name of God. And then we'll continue with a few more shovels. And then after each of us has an opportunity, we place the shovel back in the soil. Once again, we don't pass it to each other. We just place it back, and then the person can take it as another sign that we're not rushing to do this. We're doing this out of love, out of respect, and taking our time. Who is the oldest of the children?
You don't want to bury that with it.
Elliot is done. For all those that want to do it, you can also squeeze in very carefully to the concrete patch. Use the shovel there. So,
Okay.
Oh,
I never knew about the upside down shovel. Something new to me.
anything you want to
No.
No. Yeah, that's true. Yours has, because I think you're not good. What? Oh, I think. Yeah. I wasn't sure which way he was going to grab. He's got an angle for you. He's single. And? 50. He'll be able to. Oh, I think somebody else.
It will be around. We'll stay.
Oh, yeah. I'm turning 64.
You know,
I'm turning 64. Sure.
I could swear it was When's your birthday? Oh, it's your birthday. Okay. Which time of party?
are you at the party? I'll be the same. They were maybe the same year. Well, counting the same year as me. Vicky was a year behind. I don't think the same. I would say you I thought together.
Okay.
I switched the kids around, got it all.
Anyone else?
Take a minute.
Oh, okay. She's gonna shovel herself out. So.
That would be mom.
That would be mom.
That's Richie, that's your signal. I always bring you sense of humor. Hey, when the other person who got the benefit of my mother being a grandmother.
Well, Mike did. Mike did.
When I was a counselor, I basically was never in my mother's ear, but they have to except 2 years. And so if you were together as counselors, my mother's the camp. Yeah. So. It's Johnny's.
Elliot, you won for Ellen.
Thank you.
So, Richard,
Yep. That's for Ellen.
I had to pause.
You-
Actually, sometimes, spicy food.
The last thing I was.
That's why we talk.
I do what I can. All you gotta do is tell me.
Person who runs his wife now. And she's gonna have the best with them. So they basically look for 18.
What? Until they've decided they're done. Once they're done, we can just continue. We should probably have them stop at some point because both of them will just keep going forever. Yes. So you need to get on that end.
Just be careful, Elliot.
Yeah, we don't need you to join Mom.
We'll take care of the dog.
But it's a camp, yeah. I still remember going out to Lemrak.
Whatever. A little bit, but not a lot. Okay,
No, I still
we'll
have
stop
a
home then.
shirt that I tie-dyed using crepe paper in the basketball game. Still have that shirt. I'll send you a picture. Gotta dig it up. I know exactly, well, I know it should be exactly what I put it, but not probably still. It's still by the same. You remember sitting in the rec hall watching it? Yes. Okay. Friday night, I said it's actually Jonathan. Jonathan.
Yes.
Right.
Got one more corner.
I brought laundry, I think.
Yeshot Halfar al Haaretz Keshahaya Beharuach Betashuv El Elohim Asher Nitana. Dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns unto God who gave it. The soul of Roberta Susan Harkavy be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. Eternal God, our Creator, with the gift of your Spirit we are formed. We take in return. We are but dust. We are grateful for the many blessings of the life of Roberta Susan Harkavy. Bowed in grief by their loss is her mourners. They turn to you, seeking comfort and light. Lord of compassion, grant solace and strength to reinforce their faith, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. As we say once again, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakahi, Shem Adonai Bebarah. You have given, you have taken. Praise be the name of God. Shofen Bambromi. Amtsemenu Khanepana. Tachat Kanefe Ashechina. Bebalot Kiroshimu Tahorim.
Izor Hararakia Miirimu Masiri and Nishma Aisha Sarariva Batani Elberu Shalacha Lihonama Beganeten Tehen Menuchata Anna Balarachamim Astipreho Beseter Kenofech Aliyalami Utzeror Bitrachaim Nishmata Adonai Unachalato Vitanu Vitanu Beshalom Al Mishkava Vinomar O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Sarriva Bat Daniel Beruth, who hath gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you. Remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. For you, God, are now her portion. May she rest in everlasting peace. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen.
We'll recite the Kaddish now for our mourners and everyone else who would like to join.
Gadal v'yikadash b'nei Rabba, Rama Diva Kirutei, Yamlik Malkutei, V'chayachol Yom Yakon, V'chayed Kol Beit Yisrael, V'galal U'bizman Kariv V'imru Amen. Eitzlam Rabba Mevora, Golam Leomei Amaya. V'torat v'yitabak, v'yitahal v'yitamam v'yitnaseh. V'yitada v'yitale v'yitalal v'yidchutza etu. Ela in kol biachata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yomar
Amen.
v'yishmanu rabba mishmaya, chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mlamav, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. B'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Following the interment, Shiva will begin immediately. And whether everybody's going back to Stephen's house, 33 Stearns Road in East Brunswick. Please observe your Shiva in your own special ways, remembering to tell her story. Continue to perpetuate her memories from now, future generation, and for generations following. Those wishing to make donations can make it to Hadassah in her memory. We hope and pray that she is now in God's hands along with her husband Ira, seeing her granddaughter Stephanie. And may she be a Melitz Yasher, advocate. She stands at the gates next to Kadosh Baruch Hu, next to God, advocating for us to have a long and good life. So we that prosper, remembering her. We'll ask everyone to form two parallel lines and leaving just the mourners back for a moment. Brothers, walk through our parallel lines as we say to them.
Let's go for a walk to the table and back.
Every helmet's full.
Ellen, Ali, Ethan, and Melissa. Take care and thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Okay, good luck to you all. We love you.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So we're gonna go over to